And when we look at the fact that we've had 124 different subject matter experts come to grace this platform, it gives you an idea of how much has been done in the past and how much resource bank is being put together by Co-Innovation Center through this platform of TechBiz. So what's TechBiz? TechBiz basically is a Co-Innovation Center's way of trying to live out its mission, which is about helping startups attain commercialization and helping providing the right handholding that startups have. And it comes from a Co-Innovation Center, which is set up as both an incubator and accelerator. And what we've done in the last close to a decade is basically helping to support the ecosystem to build, to ensure that we see growth and that we support the early stage founders in the ecosystem. And so I want to encourage that for as many people as are coming across the Co-Innovation Center for some time, for the first time, you will find they do it well to join the group, because this particular webinar, as well as the 123rd webinar we've had, the recordings will be available from 12 noon tomorrow, and there'll be 124 different webinar recordings that you can have. And my colleagues are dropping the link that takes you, that's www.ecoicenter.com/webinar. It will take you to the repository of the webinars, and we've taken topics, business model canvas, explain how to scale your business. We've talked about investment readiness, how to manage team dynamics, how to manage your intellectual property. Those are things we've spoken about in over 123 episodes, and this also promises to be explosive. But much more than these webinars that we host once a month, we also have a community of startup and ecosystem builders, which I and so many other speakers are a part of. If you want to join our community of about 2,000 to 3,000 people, the first to get opportunities around grants, about programs, about accelerator programs and stuffs in there. My colleagues have just dropped the link on WhatsApp, on Telegram. Feel free to join the link, and it will be a great experience. But let's quickly dive into this. Today's is the 121st webinar, and I find that it's quite an interesting one, especially for a time like this. And we're talking about from vision to velocity, how leaders build high performance teams. Because ultimately, I tell people, even for angels and all that, when we want to invest, you do not invest in an individual, invest in the teams. Okay, no matter how good an idea is, the ability to bring the idea to life and to execute is dependent to a large extent on the kind of team we put together. And so, especially in a VUCA environment like we operate in, but at the time they used to say Nigeria and Africa is a VUCA environment. Now the VUCarity is a global phenomenon. There's VUCA everywhere. Living in a VUCA environment has become the reality of the day. It's now the new normal. It's not wars or supply chain disruptions or it's all manners. And so leading in such difficult times, especially for startups, which are considered as very nascent, fast-growing organizations, this is important. And today, our speaker is someone who is a world-class strategic leader, expert. He's a trained lawyer and the president of Stevens Leadership Consultancy, LLC. He's not just a consultant, he's a scholar of execution with a doctorate in strategic leadership from Regent University in the US. He has spent over 2 decades dissecting why some organizations thrive while others stall. And I think for startups, there's no better time to have this conversation than this. We should be the engine room of growth and GDP and employment creation. But most startups are having very high rates of fatality in the first few years. So it's important that we listen to such experts. The leadership meet, why leadership principles do not work in sub-Saharan Africa. That is, of course, a major one we need to hear. And where he challenges imported management theories that fail to account for our local operational realities. So he's going to be speaking context. Today's session focuses on from vision to velocity and how leaders can build high performance teams. And studies have suggested that many strategic initiatives do not achieve their intended outcome as organizations struggle to translate their intent into sustained measurable performance beyond and so beyond ambition and well-crafted plans. Breakdowns often occur at the intersection of leadership, alignment, and execution. In this session, our facilitator today and my guest will critically examine the systemic barriers. He will unpack recurring leadership and team management pitfalls and present practical, evidence-based frameworks for driving alignment, strengthening accountability, and embedding high-performance cultures. At the end of this session today, quite short, 45 minutes, we will be able to gain actionable insights on how to move beyond activity to impact, ensuring that strategy is not only defined, but consistently executed and translated into tangible, measurable results. I just finished a session where I was telling the participant that your strategy is as good as the execution. And again, that's what it is here. So with that, I want to welcome very warmly to the platform Dr. Emmanuel Toye Shovande, that I've known for such a long time. It's nice to see you again. You have the floor, sir. Nice to see you again,
Th-
sir.
Thank you so much, Uncle Vega. Thank you. Well, let me call you what your team members are calling you, Dr. Victor Benga Afolabi. I have a pet name for him. I call Uncle Benga, and he knows why I do that. There's somebody.
That says that every time. Thank you, sir. I really
Whoa,
appreciate it. You
thank
are really
you.
welcome to the platform, sir.
Yes, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here to contribute, and I'm also very grateful for Aisha, her tenacity, her resilience, her patience, her willingness to be flexible and to be agile. She's the one person we should describe as the agile facilitator or agile connector. I'm very grateful. I want to start this conversation with a video I stumbled on last night at about 11 p.m. last night, and I could not stop watching the video. So this video is my icebreaker, is my hook. I want us to pay attention to this video, and I want us to play it twice. Let's play it twice so that we pay attention to it because I'm going to be referencing it. Just watch. Did you see what happened in that video? There were three dogs. The two big dogs. Let's play it again. They put a chicken in front of them, and there was this tiny little dog behind them. All of them were looking at the same thing. They had the same vision, and they were counting. Can you see that? Isn't it interesting? Awesome. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you. I just sent that to Aisha a few minutes back here because I just felt this should be a powerful icebreaker. So back to our slides, and let me go straight on to the presentation so we can make room for question and answer. I want to start this session, especially this topic on moving from vision to velocity. I want to moving from vision to velocity, how leaders build high performance teams. You see, this is my area of interest. I don't want to just say area of competence, interest, passion. And I want you to please follow me and pay attention. If you have the opportunity, write your questions down, then we'll take it up from there. Let me start with a story. It's please, can you help me display the slides? Let me start with a story. I titled it A Story of Stillness. A Story of Stillness. It's I'm waiting for them to help display the slides because I want you to follow the slides and follow the story and follow the points that I'm going to be bringing out from there. Is that the best way the slides can be? Can you put it in display mode instead of showing all the background? You can put it in display mode. I don't know. So that we won't see all the background and the barriers on the screen. Well, if you have been any challenges, let me know. If you can put it on full screen so that we don't see all those other things, Yeah. Okay, so I call it the story of stillness. It's a Netflix story, and it's a story that has circulated through Silicon Valley that captures everything I want to discuss with you today. In the early years of Netflix, when the company was still shipping DVDs in those distinctive red bags, the founder, Reed Hastings, gathered the leadership team for a strategy offsite. The vision was clear, and that vision is dominate home entertainment. The energy in the room on that day was very high. The coffee was very strong. And by the end of the second day, they had produced a thick document filled with ambitious goals, market projections, and detailed action plans. Hastings looked at that document, nodded appreciatively, and then asked the question that stopped the room cold. And this is the question. This is where we want to go. But who here can tell me what we are actually doing tomorrow morning that is different from what we did this morning? As soon as he asked that question, the room fell silent. They had vision in abundance. What they lacked was velocity. And at that moment captures a reality every leader eventually encounters. Sometimes or often quietly, sometimes painfully. When a brilliant vision sits still, the slides are polished, the strategy is sound, the ambition is clear, yet nothing moves. Yet nothing moves. Not because the team members are incapable, but because something essential is missing. Execution is not an automatic byproduct of vision. It is engineered. I want to say that again. Execution is not an automatic byproduct of vision. It is engineered. Distinguished guests and gentlemen and ladies, it's an honor to be here. And I want you to meditatively review that statement that I said. Reflect on it again and again. Execution is not an automatic byproduct of vision. It is engineered. And that's what we are here to do this evening. You see, I once worked with a leadership team that many people would have called, they had a perfect strategy. Their vision was bold. Their goals were measurable. Their resources were substantial. Yet, quarter after quarter, performance lagged. When we look beneath the surface, the issue was not intelligence or effort. It was misalignment. It was misalignment. Everyone was busy. Can we go to the next slide, please? Everyone was busy. Everyone was busy, but not coordinated. Everyone was committed, but not synchronized. Everyone was committed, but they were not synchronized. That's the gap between vision and velocity. Can I ask a question? It seems you have a challenge with the slide. I have the slides here. Do you mind me presenting the slides myself from here? If that is an issue?
It's fine.
Because it seems, I don't think you seem to have a document and not a slide. I don't know if I have the slides here with me. So if you're having problems displaying the slides accurately.
No problem, sir. No, I'm fine, sir.
Don't you have the slides? Is that not the slide you have there?
Sir.
Okay, you have it, but you can control it. If that's the case, then let me carry on so that it doesn't distract me. Okay. So, okay. Okay. So let's go on. So, like I said, the gap is where we have a variance between the vision and the velocity. The gap between vision and velocity. Now, and that gap is where leadership either succeeds or fails. Now, let me share my thesis, my thesis with you this afternoon or this evening. We have been sold a myth about leadership. We have been sold a myth about leadership. The myth says the leader's primary job is to stand on the mountain, gaze into the distance, and paint a compelling picture of the future. That's what we've been sold. We believe it. We know it's true. The vision we are told is everything. They've told us once you have a vision, then everything makes sense. I also even developed a framework around vision. 23 years ago at Obafemi Awolowo University, I developed a framework around vision. There were 3 things around that I defined as vision. I said vision defines you, vision refines you, vision confines you. And I said something is very common in the way I define vision. Refine, define, confine. Define. I said vision defines you. Vision gives you a definition. It gives you an identity. When you see a man with vision, they have a sense of identity, a sense of what? Vision refines you, meaning vision changes you. It takes you through a character molding. It refines your character because you are tested. You mature, you grow. And vision confines you, meaning vision restricts you. You are not seen anywhere. You are not commonplace. And I said, if you observe the word define, refine, confine, vision makes you fine. I said, vision makes a fine person out of you. Vision defines you, vision refines you, vision confines you. But I have seen in the last 23 years, outgrown just sharing that as a definition, as a framework of leadership that I developed. I have moved beyond that, because I found out that vision is just not everything. But I'm here to challenge that assumption. That's what I'm saying. I want to challenge that assumption that says vision is everything. Yes, vision is necessary. Vision is essential, but vision without velocity is merely hallucination. Vision without velocity is merely hallucination. The graveyard of failed organizations is not filled with companies that lacked ambition. It is filled with companies that had breathtaking ambition and absolutely no capacity to execute. I presume the slide should have changed by now. So the slide should have changed by now, please. Whoever is handling the slide, I need you to please work with me. It distracts me when I'm, because I expect people listening are following the slides as well. Please work with me. So the myths there, like I said, that the leader's primary job is to stand on the mountain and gaze into the distance and paint a compelling picture of the future. It's true. Vision is necessary. Vision is essential. But vision without velocity, like I said, is mere hallucination. Now, execution is not an automatic byproduct of vision, like I said earlier. So the question is no longer, do we have a compelling vision? That's not the question anymore. The question is, have we built a team that can carry that vision forward with precision, with speed, and with consistency? Mark those 3 words: precision, speed, and consistency. That was the reason why I showed you the video of those 3 dogs, the 2 big dogs in front and the tiny little dog behind. The tiny little dog behind is what describes precision, speed, and consistency. Precision, speed, and consistency. That is what should characterize any team that will translate vision into reality. Now, let's look at the data. I love to, because of my background in research, I love to focus on what the research and data talks about. And let me ground this in evidence. The evidence is from a study of McKinsey. McKinsey is one of the global consulting companies. They tracked organizations over a decade and found that companies with strong execution capabilities delivered returns nearly 30% higher than those with equally strong strategies but weak execution. Weak execution. Now, strategy alone explained only a fraction of the performance. Execution explained the rest. But here is what is more revealing. More than 80% of leaders believe that they had a clear strategy. However, fewer than 30% believed they executed it well. What that suggests is that there is a chasm. There's a chasm between vision and velocity. And too many leaders are standing on one side, shouting across and wondering why their teams never arrive. I have seen this play out in real time in several organizations where I've been privileged to serve. And recently, in year 2023, I provided consulting service for 2 technology companies, startup companies. And at the time I started with them, I think they were about 3 years or 2 years old, or thereabout. These 2 technology companies were in the same market. They entered into the market the same time. Can you please change the slides, please? They entered into the market the same time. The two technology companies in the African context, because we are Africans, we can relate with this. 2 companies, same market, same timing, similar access to talent and capital, but led by visionary founders. Both are led by visionary founders. 5 years later, one is a market leader with operations across the continent. The other is a cautionary tale whispered in incubators and accelerator programs. They whisper, they use them as examples. The difference was not vision. The difference was not intelligence. I say that again. The problem, the difference between the 2 of them, the difference was not the vision. The difference was not intelligence. The difference was not even hard work. The difference was the leader's ability to build a team that could convert intention into action faster than the competition. Faster than the competition. That's what that dog represented earlier. The difference, like I said, was velocity, because organizations do not outperform because they think better. They outperform because they translate clarity into coordinated action. And here is the transition. The transition, how do you transition from vision to execution? How do you transition from vision to velocity? High performance teams do not emerge by accident. They are deliberately architected. And how do you carry out this architecture? That's what I want to talk about today. At the core of this architecture is clarity. Clarity that removes ambiguity and replaces it with shared understanding. So, how do you build teams that move? How do you create conditions where vision transforms into velocity? Those are the questions in our minds today, isn't it? And if you want to move from vision to velocity, it requires a shift, not just in strategy, but in how you lead, number 1, how you structure, number 2, how you think, number 3. This is where it moves from. If you want to move from vision to velocity, it requires a shift not in strategy, but a shift in how you lead, number 1, how you structure, number 2, how you think, number 3, how you think, number 3. So vision starts with the clarity of destination, then it moves to accountability as ownership, then it moves from motion to momentum. And I'm going to explain this very well. I'm going to explain it. So I said there on the slide that to build teams that move, leaders must shift not just their strategy, but they must shift their thinking and their practice. You must shift your thinking and your practice. Let's go into this shift one. The shift one, the clarity of decision. From clarity of destination to clarity of decision. Most leaders are very clear about where they are going, but far fewer are clear about how decisions are made along the way. I want you to pay attention to me, please. If you're a business owner, a business leader, this is a very crucial part. If you're a startup person and you have a vision for your life, I want you to please pay attention to me. Please pay attention. Now, I don't know if you can see the slides clearly. It's looking very scattered to me. I'm not seeing it very clearly, but if you can see it, that's fine. Let's go on. This is where the problem is. Now, if fewer people are clear about how decisions are made along the way, and that's where the velocity is lost. How decisions are made, that's where the velocity is lost. And this is why I say so. High performance teams do not move fast because they have perfect information. No. They don't move fast because they have perfect information. They move fast because they have clear decision rights. They have clear decision rights. They know who decides what. They know when decisions must be made. They know who needs to be involved and who does not. That this is where the friction is. No, don't move yet. Don't move yet. The friction point. I want to talk about the friction. The single greatest friction in organizations is not slow people. It's not slow people. It's not because they are slow. It is ambiguous decision-making process that has been enshrined into the structure of the organization. An ambiguous decision-making process. When people spend more time figuring out who needs approval than actually doing the work, that's when velocity dies. When people spend time figuring how to get approval for a decision, figuring who is to approve what, that is what kills velocity. Rather than doing the work, executing the work, when they are stuck, that's where the friction is. The ambiguous decision making is the killer of velocity. So run through your organizations. How are decisions made? How empowered are the people under you to make decisions? Your job as a leader is not merely to point towards the horizon. That's not your job. It is to engineer a decision architecture that allows people to move from waiting for your permission at every turn. And I'm going to say this. Your job as a leader is not merely pointing to the horizon. That's where the vision is. It is to engineer a decision architecture. What is the decision architecture framework of your organization right now? How did you construct the decision framework of your organization? Does it allow people to move without waiting for your permission at every? Do you trust your people enough? Do you have confidence in your people's ability to make decisions? You may say it, which is performative allyship, but does your body language and your actions correspond with what you say? So clarity is not just about direction. Clarity is about shared understanding within the structure of the organization. What is that shared understanding about? Shared understanding of what, of the why, the how, and the who. A shared understanding. What needs to be done? Why must this thing be done? Who needs to do it? And how must it be done? That's a shared understanding. A shared understanding. Because people will not move faster when they are pressured. People do not move faster when they are pressured. They move faster when they are aligned. When they are aligned with the decision-making structure. When there's an alignment. Now, let's move on to shift 2, so I don't waste so much time on that. Shift 2 talks about accountability as ownership. Accountability as ownership. Here, we move, you see, a lot of people, organization talks about accountability. There is a performative allyship. It's virtue signaling. It's just like a preacher who goes on the pulpit and tell people and say, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, but yet he's stealing, he's lying, So it's not enough to say it. The practice, people can see through the hypocrisy in leadership. People can see through our body language. Now, this is the point I want to make. We have corrupted the word accountability. We have corrupted the word accountability. The word accountability has been corrupted. That's the point I want to make. Number 2, we have misunderstood the word accountability, and I'm here to correct it. For most organizations, accountability has become a weapon wielded after things have gone wrong. They've used accountability as a stick, a beating stick, a belt that you use in beating an employee for failing on the job. That is when you begin to hear accountability the most. And that is not when accountability should be. So most organizations use accountability as a weapon when things have gone wrong. In many organizations, accountability is something we talk about after failure. The question is, who is responsible for this? That should be the question we should be asking. Who messed up? Why did this fail? Who dropped the ball? Those are the corrupted version of accountability. Who messed up? I'm sure you must have had it in your organization. Who dropped the ball? You must have had those statements in your organization. Who missed the goal? Everyone knows what that question really means. The question is asked in a tone that makes it clear that someone is in trouble. When that question is asked, it's asked in a tone that makes it clear that someone is about to be sacrificed. But here lies one of the most misunderstood aspects of leadership. Accountability is not about control. Accountability is about ownership. Accountability, when it is properly phrased in the right language, is about ownership. High performance teams, high performance leaders redefine accountability not by using key languages after a failure, but before the work is done. And how do I mean? They make it about ownership before outcomes. The actual definition of accountability is that it must be about ownership before an outcome, not a blame after a failure. That is one of the things that kills velocity. They make accountability about outcomes. No, accountability is about ownership, not about outcomes. Please, if you have ever never going to forget anything, don't forget these things. Accountability is about ownership before outcome. It seeks someone to learn. It creates responsibility. They ask a different question when it's about ownership. The questions are different. The traditional question is that the traditional approach is that it is used as a weapon after failure. It seeks someone to blame and it creates fear. That's what accountability does, and most leaders don't realize it. And the fear is what paralyzes people from being able to make decisions and own the decision even in the face of failure. Why? Because accountability is made to look like an outcome. No, it's not. In the redefined approach under the high performance team, the question is different. The question is not who messed up, but who owns this work? Who is responsible for this assignment? Not why did this fail, but what have we learned and who is now responsible for applying what we have learned? It's about lesson learned. It's about learning through risk. It's about learning. Accountability is about learning. You learn how not to do. It's like a child who does not know the implication of fire and puts his hand in fire. If he gets burnt, he will never go there again. He has developed a muscle memory of what not to do any longer. So, high performance leaders build systems where performance is visible, measurable, and shared. Performance is visible, measurable, and shared. When accountability becomes about ownership rather than blame, teams will stop hiding their mistakes and they will start accelerating through them. When accountability becomes about ownership rather than blame, teams stop hiding their mistakes and they will start accelerating through their mistakes. Ownership is what scales performance faster than supervision ever will. Ownership, when you define accountability by ownership, it gives you speed. It gives you speed. So when accountability becomes about ownership rather than blame, teams stop hiding their mistake and they start accelerating through them. They don't chase people. When it is ownership, you don't chase people. You create environments where accountability becomes cultural. This is very important. Accountability has to be part of the cultural NDA of your organization. If you are going to translate between vision to velocity, accountability has to be cultural, not managerial. When accountability is managerial, that is when it is now turned into a weapon of offense in the face of failure. That is when it's now turned into a weapon to suppress and to sacrifice people in the organization. That is where that is one of the symptoms, a byproduct of bullying. That's when bullying in the workplace. And it is a microaggression that is not easily tractable or cannot be pinned. Why? Because they attach it to policies. They will use policy framework to define it for you, and there's nothing you can do. And they can penalize you based on policy. But it's a mischievous, narcissistic way of actually defining accountability, and that is not so. Like I said, for ownership, accountability, you have to create environments where accountability becomes cultural. That's another topic in another conversation that I can teach on that one from today to tomorrow, where accountability becomes the cultural framework of the organization, not managerial. Not managerial. When it becomes managerial, that is when vision dies. That's when velocity dies, because ownership scales performance faster than supervision will ever will. So high performance teams operate where expectations are explicit. Expectations are not ambiguous. It's not subject to the mood of the leader. It's not subject to the approval of the leader. Expectations are not, we're waiting for Oga to come, when let's get Oga's opinion on this. No. Here, feedback is continuous and responsibility is shared. Feedback is continuous and responsibility is shared. Let's go to shift 3. Shift 3. I want to really run through this so that we can have sufficient time. Shift 3 talks about momentum over motion. Momentum over motion. And the issue is people don't recognize the difference between the two. They don't know what is momentum. They don't know what is motion. Motion is activity. Momentum is progress. Motion is deceptive because it gives you this awkward feeling of busyness. We are working. We are busy. You are just busy. Busy doing what? Where are you? Busy doing what precisely? Rather, momentum is about movement towards goals. While motion is about business, momentum is obsessive with focus, laser focus. You saw that through the dogs, the 3 dogs. The smaller dog was laser focused, laser obsessively focused on the chicken. If you have time, go back and watch that video again and again and redefine your life around that. It's that video represents every aspect, not only in business, in your personal life and your decision-making process. Now, the last one about motion. The last one about motion is that motion feels like effort, while momentum delivers results. So many organizations are in motion, but very few have momentum. Many organizations are in motion, but very few have momentum. Let me explain the distinction, which I have done. Motion is activity, momentum is progress towards a goal. When I walk into organizations where people constantly show that extraordinarily busy, emails are flying everywhere, meetings are happening, reports are being generated, everyone is in motion, everyone is busy, but nothing is moving. Nothing is moving. Motion without momentum is the great deceiver of leadership. Motion is deceptive. It feels like progress. It looks like effort, but it delivers nothing. High performance leaders have an almost obsessive focus of distinguishing between the two. They ask, and this is how to distinguish between the two. They ask questions, and they ask a question relentlessly. This is the question. Is this activity actually moving us towards our goal, or is it just keeping us busy? So such leaders, they prune what does not produce momentum, and they protect what does. They prune what does not produce momentum, and they protect what produces results. So momentum is different. Momentum is sustained movement in the right direction. Sustained movement in the right direction. It is built through small, consistent wins. Small, consistent wins. Leaders who understand this break, this break, how do I say it? Leaders who understand this big break execute their ambition. They have executable steps towards fulfilling their ambitions, towards fulfilling their dreams. So they understand big ambitions and they understand the executable steps, the steps to execute it. They break it down. They understand that velocity is not about doing more things. Velocity is not volume. It's not about doing more things. No, it is about doing the right things faster than anyone else. Velocity is about doing the right thing faster than anyone else. They break down large ambitions into executable actions. Then they break it down, the how, the what, the where, the when. They celebrate progress without losing urgency. They celebrate progress without losing urgency. And they continuously recalibrate based on feedback. They continuously recalibrate based on feedback. Let me tie this feedback to the ownership that I mentioned about. Where there is ownership and a shared sense of understanding and responsibility, a leader will have honest feedback from his team members. And that feedback is what helps them to continuously recalibrate. And in doing so, they transform overwhelming goals into achievable milestones. Now, next slide. How do we expand our system of performance? Expanding the performance ecosystem. And I'm here to say that velocity is an ecosystem, not a trait. Velocity is an ecosystem. Ecosystem that comprises of psychological safety, dynamic execution, and frictionless systems. Mark my word, psychological safety, dynamic execution, and frictionless system. But even these three shifts are not just enough. The three shifts that I mentioned, they are not just enough on their own. They have to be ingrained into the ecosystem, because high performance teams are not just structured well. It's just not about structuring an organization well. They have to be led well. And one of the defining characteristics of such teams is psychological safety. The confidence that people can speak, challenge, and contribute without fear of retribution. The confidence that people can speak, challenge, and contribute without fear. I don't mean people should speak carelessly without sense. I don't mean people should speak rudely or speak without respect or regard or honor for their leader. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is because the greatest threat to execution is not failure, it is silence. It is silence. When people do not speak, problems remain hidden. When problems remain hidden, execution slows down. So, leaders who build velocity create environments where ideas flow freely and issues surface early. Ideas flow freely, potential issues, problems come up early enough for the leaders to detect and to address it. And they understand that speed without adaptability is dangerous. Speed without adaptability is dangerous. Back to the video of the dogs, the three dogs. The smaller dog had a disadvantage of height, of positioning. He was not well positioned. The other dogs were bigger. They were standing, they had access, they had everything, they were well positioned, but this smaller dog was not well positioned. So the smaller dog compensated for what was a disadvantage by looking at the environment where he was. He looked at the environment where he was and he adapted. How did he adapt? He found the speed. He found a dynamic approach to jump swiftly in between the two big dogs and aim for the chicken, got it and got that and ran off. That's what we are talking about. That's what we are talking about. So leaders must build teams that are not only fast, but responsive. Because there's a difference between being fast and being responsive. You must be responsive. You must be responsive. How can you be responsive? This requires shifting from rigid planning to dynamic execution. It's a shift from rigid planning to dynamic execution, where learning cycles are short, decisions are data informed, and adjustments are continuous. I'm going to repeat that. How do you make the shift? You make the shift from rigid planning to dynamic execution. How do you do that? You do that where your learning cycles are very short. Don't make it too long. Your learning cycles are very short. Your decisions are backed by data. Data. It must be data informed. You must reset. Don't just make assumption. You must test your assumption. Question your assumption. Then you must make adjustments continuously. And you must be flexible enough to make adjustments continuously. Now, high performance teams do not wait for perfect conditions. That smaller dog did not wait for a perfect condition. That smaller dog did not say, Abba, I'm the smallest of you all now. You should put me on a chair so I can have access, so I can compete evenly. No, it doesn't happen like that. Life is not fair. Favor is not fair. And that's what organizations must understand. And you must understand it as an individual in anything you do in life. So you don't wait for perfect condition. You iterate your way to excellence. You have to keep iterating your way to excellence. So how do you do that? You leverage technology and systems. They play a vital role. In fact, they play a pivotal role. A pivotal role. Technology and systems play a pivotal role. Therefore, leaders must ensure that their teams are not slowed down by complexities and inefficiencies. Complexities and inefficiencies. And I saw the complexities and the inefficiencies in the two big dogs, despite their positioning, despite the positioning and the advantage of size and height and everything they have. They were belabored by complexity of and inefficiency. So processes in this ecosystem should enable execution, it should not hinder it. Your processes, your organizational processes must enable execution. It should not hinder it. Your processes, your business processes must enable execution, not hinder it. The best leaders constantly ask one powerful question. And what is that question? What is getting in the way of my team's performance? What is getting in the way of my team's performance? That is when you now move to the dimension of frictionless systems. Frictionless systems. That question is what helps you to generate the DNA, the cultural DNA of a frictionless system. A system where you are constantly asking, what is getting in our way? What is getting in our way? It is in this phase you test your assumption. What is getting in our way? How can we remove the barrier? That's why I started with the decision architecture at the very beginning. The decision architecture is the number one barrier. All other things follow. All other things are a product of the decision architecture. Once you deal with the decision architecture, you will successfully be able to create a frictionless system afterwards. And then you can now act decisively to remove those barriers. Therefore, velocity thrives in environments where friction is minimized. I'm going to say that again. Velocity thrives in environment where friction is minimized. Enough of this ecosystem. Now, let's now go to the leadership principle. What is the leadership dynamics that put all of this together? And I call that leadership principle the architecture of trust. The architect of trust. The architect of trust. I like to say this to leaders all of the time. You are not the star, you are the architect. You are not the star, especially for our African leaders. You are not the star, you are the architect. If leaders fail to see themselves as the architect and only see themselves as the star, they become the number one problem that would not allow their vision to be executed and the strategy to work as effective as it ought to be. So, this is my quote that I say all the time. You are not the star of the show. You are the architect of the conditions under which your team can become the star. This is what I tell leaders. You are not the star of the show. You are the architect of the conditions under which your team can become the star. Ultimately, this is not just about systems. It is about leadership. You are not the star of the show. You are the architect of the conditions under which your team performs. And the most important condition you create in being the architect is what? Trust. Trust. Now, why do I say this? Teams do not move at the speed of strategy. Teams do not move at the speed of strategy. They move at the speed of trust. They move at the speed of trust. They move at the speed of trust. There are two different things. People think when strategy is backed by speed, that's when execution works. No, no. Strategy backed by trust is what makes execution effective, not by speed. Speed is essential. I'm an advocate for speed. I'm an advocate for agility and dynamism, but I say trust is what glues everything together under the leadership principle. And that's where the architect of trust comes in. So leadership, therefore, is just not about direction. It's about example. Example. The discipline you expect from your team members must be the discipline you demonstrate. As a leader, the discipline you expect from your team members must be the discipline you demonstrate as a leader. When leaders are clear, when leaders are consistent and decisive, the teams will accelerate. I'll say that again. When leaders are clear, when leaders are consistent, and when leaders are decisive, teams accelerate. They accelerate. When leaders are inconsistent, when leaders are unclear, teams hesitate. They will hesitate because they are afraid of making the wrong decision. They are afraid of being blamed and using policy, organizational policy to whip people into alignment. No. When leaders are inconsistent or unclear, teams hesitate. And hesitation is the enemy of velocity. Hesitation is the enemy of velocity. Hesitation. If you run a cultural audit, which I do for most organizations, when you run the cultural audit, most of the time, I sense hesitation in any form of research or data, especially by African-run companies. The hesitation tells me a lot about what is wrong in the organization. Hesitation. It shows me there's been inconsistency in the leadership dynamics. It shows me there's a lack of clarity in the leadership dynamics, and it shows me there's a lack of decisiveness. Hesitation reveals that to me. Hesitation is the enemy of velocity. And the underlying all of these principles that I want to leave you with right now is that high performance teams are not built through systems alone. High performance teams are not built through systems alone. They are built through the leader's willingness to be present in a particular way. The leader who builds velocity is not the charismatic figure delivering speeches from the stage. That's not leadership. Leadership is not the charismatic figure who has the oratory prowess or the power to deliver fine speeches that moves the crowd to shout. No, that's not leadership. The leader is the one sitting with the team, asking uncomfortable questions and answering uncomfortable questions. The leader is the one sitting with the team, asking and answering uncomfortable questions, removing the obstacles, clarifying the confusion, and then stepping back to let the team run. That's the leader. The leader is the one who sits with the team, asking the uncomfortable questions, removing the obstacles, clarifying the confusion, and then stepping back to allow the team to run. As we round up today, what is the practical application of all of these long stories? Practical application. What is the practical application? The practical application here, your one question. If there is one practical shift every leader can make starting today, it is this move from managing task to orchestrating performance. Managing task to what? Orchestrating performance. I say to my leaders all of the time, leadership is about orchestration. Leadership is about orchestration. Stop managing task. Move to orchestration, orchestrating performance. Instead of asking, is the work getting done? Ask your team members, is the team getting better? Is the work getting done? No, that's the wrong question to ask. Ask, is the team getting better? Because sustainable velocity is not achieved through pressure. Because I hear leaders say, oh, our team members, they perform under pressure. They have the ability to withstand pressure. Stop. That is not a viable measuring yardstick. It's not a viable measuring framework. No. Rather, your sustainable velocity is achieved through capability. How do you achieve capability in the people you are leading as a leader? How can your people develop capability? When teams grow in competence, in their ability to do the work, the competence, the confidence, the cohesion, executions become a natural outcome for them. I'm going to repeat it again. When your team members grow in their competence, in their confidence, and in their cohesion, execution becomes a natural outcome. I'll say it again. When your team members grow in competence, in their skill set to do the work, and you give them the confidence to do the work, and you create a cohesion in the team, execution becomes a natural outcome. As you reflect on your own leadership, consider these questions. Where is your vision losing momentum? Where is your vision losing momentum? Is it in clarity? Is it in accountability? Is it in alignment? Or is it in trust? Where is your vision losing momentum? Is it in clarity? Is it in accountability? Is it in alignment? Is it in trust? Why? Because the distance between where you are and where you want to be is not measured in ideas. It is measured in execution. And the challenge right now, my challenge to you, that tomorrow morning, when you log into your first meeting or you walk into your organization, ask one question. What is the one thing slowing us down that I have the power to remove? What is the one thing slowing the team down that I have the power to remove? Not the market, not the competition, not the economic policies of the government. No, your team, your system, your leadership. Remove one obstacle, clarify one ambiguity, and strengthen one capability. Because velocity is not built by pressure. Velocity is not built by pressure. It is built by removing friction and increasing capability. And as you do this, shift your mindset. Stop managing tasks. Start orchestrating performance. Because the real question is not, is the work getting done? The real question is the team getting better? As I close, I want to thank Dr. Victor Afolabi, Aisha Ahmed, and the entire Eco Innovation Center team for the invitation to share these insights with you. I thank every participant for investing your evening in your own leadership development. And I leave you with this final thought. The world does not need more leaders with beautiful visions. The world does not need more leaders with beautiful visions. Vision is abundant. Every organization has one. Every competitor has one vision, but velocity is rare. The leaders who will define the future are those who imagine better. Who imagine better. They are those who mobilize people to execute consistently, effectively, and at a larger scale. Because in the end, leadership is not proven by what you imagine. It is proven by what your team members deliver. What are your team members delivering? Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. My dog and a professor with a law background and has moved across 4 different industries. This can only come from wealth of experience. This is not, this is not just slides that is put together from ChatGPT's expertise at work. Thank you so much. I mean, this was one session that I just wanted to continue to, go on. Though we usually have a hard stop at 5, but there was just the way I could, at 6 rather, I could stop because it was deep. When a culture where results are measured by effort, and what you've clearly said is the fact that with all those visions and all those things, finally, are we executing? It's not just about showing up. Are we leaving those things out? Are we ensuring that we're creating the right environment, the right agility for people to make sure they can get there? And are we getting away from the part of the people so they can deliver optimally? I mean, if we continue on this to unpack this, we'll be there for another one hour. But hey, that's not what I want to do. I like to take questions. Again, I've seen the comments and all that. Great session expected. Hey, let me look for one that we can take and then we can call it a team member delivers on a given target at all times. But at any strategic meeting, he or she will never make a tangible contribution. What can be done to get such a person to contribute in meetings? That came because, again, we're streaming across different platforms, so my teams are getting all the questions and dropping it there. Others will say how to post it later, but this one is about a team member who doesn't participate in meetings, a bit withdrawn, but yet delivers. What should be done to re-engineer such a person?
That person should be studied. That's a gifted person. So you have to relate with the person from the angle of the person's personality. It might not be a talker. It's the person who listens and he's focused on the what of the job. So, and this is where leaders make a mistake. In fact, I have an article being released tomorrow, Friday, and it addresses part of this question. When we promote leaders from expertise, the technical expertise, and we do not focus on the soft skill that is required for the role. So that guy has technical expertise and he has demonstrated that over time, but he's somebody you must study his personality type and study the kind of environment he works in. So the fact that somebody doesn't talk in meeting, that's why people confuse talkers for leaders. The fact that somebody talks and talks does not make the person a leader. It just gives the person visibility. And sometimes visibility is what ascribes leadership responsibility to people. Then when they now fail, we are now wondering why they fail. It's because there's no translation between technical competence to the soft skill that is required. Leadership is soft skill. So don't try to compel the person to talk at meetings. Don't try to compel him to always share their opinion. Find what is unique to his own style. Don't do a one-size-fits-all. And I'm mindful of that in this presentation. Don't do a one-size-fits-all. There are exceptions to the rule. So look for what is unique to him and look for how he can play. Let him take ownership for how he wants to navigate his contributions in the public space in form of speaking. He may be good at writing, or explore that. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Other questions that have come in, but again, it's finally about the team. An organization is as good as the people. It's as good as the people. It's as good as the people. While the outcomes, of course, rest on this, everything rises and falls on the leader. But a leader, like I've said, defined as an architect, must be able to create a symphony, a rhythm that is done by each person playing their part. Then they can deliver. It's not so much about the beautiful mission, vision, strategy, and all those conversations.
Yeah.
It's about what do you get done? Because ultimately, it's what you get done that the world sees, the world values, and the world delivers. We cannot thank you enough. We cannot thank you enough. This is heavy, and again, it's to say we're glad that we can download this much from you, and my team are always posting quite a number of nuggets and post amplification after this. I know they will have access to post because we're moving from quotes to quotes and nuggets to nuggets, but each one of them requires interpretation. So
yes.
So, it's deep, but we do not take it for granted. Thank you very, very much. We're grateful for your presence because we have so much respect for the people. We like to keep it short. People are transiting between 5 and 6. It's the drive time kind of thing we're trying to create. And so we like to have a hard stop. We just want to say big thank you. And we do wish you well. We do not take this for granted at all. Across the ecosystem, everybody, I'm sure, we've seen a lot of people log on Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. The Zoom is only constrained for those who have pre-registered, but it's streamed everywhere. We're getting questions from everyone. We'll try we can get that across to you. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
If anyone has questions, Aisha can email it to me. I'll create time, probably when I'm on the flight, I can respond to those questions. We can send it off. They can email their questions. I'll take out time to respond to it one by one to each question. Yeah.
Super. This is nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You.
Again, guys, thank you very much for keeping the date with TechBiz. I know it's supposed to be 6. It's 6:03, but we just had to do this. That was just, again, and that's for me is the joy that we get. We get subject matter experts who spill from their work experience. It's not that they think this is what they do. They are not only scholars, they are practitioner scholars who have the expertise across what they do, across all over the world. I've known him doing great work in Nigeria. He's now in the US doing great work. And so he speaks from different clients, having seen it, and we're so privileged to have someone like this. Grace, the 124th episode of TechBiz. Thank you very much. And for everyone else, a big thank you to you. The recording of this episode, I personally will have to do a review again and take a few things because I find it instrumental as we begin to scale in different directions. You will find this recording by 12 noon tomorrow. It should be on the site. My colleagues are dropping the link to the site, www.ecofort.icenter/webinar. You will find it dropped across the link. Please do make sure that you can take a look at that, and then we can just see it, as well as 123 other episodes. A quick one: do we have the flyer of Macaque? We have one of our flagships, which my colleagues are sharing now. Can we take a look at Macaque? Yes. So this comes up on the 5th of June. If you've not registered as a sponsor, as a startup, it's a conversation around the intersection of marketing and technology, and how technology is shaping how we engage with consumer, how we do our storytelling, how marketing and engagement happens. This comes from the stable of Eco Innovation Center. Please, I think it will be quite beneficial to you if you sign up, or you know an organization, somebody who's starting their career in marketing and who wants to know what the future of marketing will be. This comes on 5th of June, Oriental Hotel. It's a one-day, full-day event from conversations in the morning to awards in the evening. Please do make sure you sign up. My colleagues are drawing the registration link in the chat room. Yeah, beautiful. They've dropped it in there. Just click the link and it takes you to the sign up, and then we can close it in from there. Again, I want to say a big thank you to you. Coming from the stable of the Co-Innovation Center, TechBiz is one of the ways we try to live out our mission of empowering people. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hosting you next month, the last Thursday of the month. I remain the founder of a Co-Innovation Center and the host of TechBiz, Dr. Victor Gbenga Falabi, saying thank you, and do keep a day with us next time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you.